We've reached the big one, folks. Right smack dab in the middle of Batman is the seminal classic, Heart of Ice. When people today talk about Batman the Animated Series, this episode is almost always brought up as its very best. It reinvented a villain and featured character moments throughout this story that aren't just great for animation or television. They're phenomenal scenes that believably convey drama, tragedy, anger, and even a little bit of hope. Across Gotham, a new villain has been stealing parts of high-tech weaponry and leaving a cold trail behind. Batman investigates and discovers the thief, Mr. Freeze, is actually a presumed dead scientist named Dr. Victor Freeze. After the company he worked for, GothCorp, shut down a medical procedure he was trying to save his terminally ill wife with, he's involved in a laboratory accident that leaves him physically altered and seeking revenge on the man who wronged him. There's a lot to talk about here. Let's start with mentioning this is a Daytime Emmy Award-winning episode. That's right, it won way back in 1993 for Outstanding Writing in an Animated Program. Now, technically, the whole show won that award, but Heart of Ice was the episode they submitted. This is the first one written by the great Paul Dini, and also the first that Bruce Timm himself directed. Plus, it was the first recording session of one Mark Hamill. He voiced GothCorp CEO Ferris Boyle, and would return later to famously voice the Joker when Tim Curry was recast.
When he came in for the recording, he said, I want to play one of the villains. Who's left? Who haven't you cast yet? We told him that we had already cast the Joker, and he was like, oh, well, if anybody else comes to mind, let me know. Give me a call. We did decide to recast the Joker, and we remembered that Mark was enthusiastic about it and brought him back in. And he was great, and he's been our Joker ever since.
So lots of important firsts are associated with this installment. This take on Mr. Freeze brought him from goofy, obscure baddie to one of the most complex, interesting characters in the Batman canon. In the commentary track, Bruce Timm and Paul Dini discussed their influences and what they were aiming for with this version of the villain.
At that time, Mr. Freeze was, you remembered him as being Otto Preminger from the old Adam West Batman show, where he was kind of silly. I had mentioned something about like an old Boris Karloff mad scientist movie. The idea that, he'd been stuck in some kind of cryogenic accident and considers himself dead to all emotions.
And I remember us also thinking about the old Vincent Price movie, Dr. Phibes.
Michael Ansara iconically voiced Freeze for all his appearances in the DCAU. His work in Heart of Ice has become legendary, but originally, Bruce Timm was thinking about a few different actors for the role.
And we gave her a huge, long laundry list of different people we thought might play Mr. Freeze, everybody from Anthony Zerbe to Anthony Hopkins. Like we were going to get anywhere near Anthony Hopkins.
Yeah.
Andrea was the one who mentioned Michael Ansara. He didn't jump to my mind immediately as being right for Mr. Freeze. I didn't see him as being like this unemotional guy, but we took a chance, and he was great.
I can't imagine anyone else saying these beautiful poetic lines that Paul Dini wrote into the script. The character just came together so well.
To never again walk on a summer's day with a hot wind in your face and a warm hand to hold. I'd kill for that.
When Batman discovers Freeze's origin story and the truth behind his quest for vengeance, it's a very compelling, sympathetic, and heartbreaking scene. It's hard to believe all this character development and atmospheric tension is paced so perfectly, yet crammed into a 22-minute episode. But there's not much of an argument against the fact that it's executed flawlessly with precision and care. The slow moments are left room to breathe, the action feels exciting, you quickly understand the motivations of all involved. It's pretty much the perfect script for the genre. I think in the half-hour format, it has to be in the upper echelon of screenplays that should be studied for pacing, character, dialogue, and a consistent tone. I know I would have gotten a lot more out of it if this was taught in any of my screenwriting courses. In fact, if you do want to learn about multiple aspects that make a good script, I'd suggest finding the transcript online and reading it while watching the episode. When you're able to stop and analyze why certain moments work as well as they do, you can probably pick up on a few tricks. Just a suggestion for any aspiring screenwriters out there. I haven't even mentioned the animation yet. This is just about as pretty as the show looks throughout its entire run. The fluidity of the movements in combination with striking designs and eye-catching frames make the look of this episode both provocative and subtle. The attention to detail is beyond impressive.
Notice Mr. Freeze's glass bubble. We had called for that just to be a simple white outline to indicate his helmet bubble. They took it upon themselves to airbrush every single cell
Right.
of Mr. Freeze's helmet. If I'm not mistaken, I think Mr. Fukuda, who was one of the co-owners of Spectrum, he personally airbrushed all those cells.
Even the little bits in the background add a sense of lived-in believability to the world around our characters. The music is brought up to another level as well. Mr. Freeze's theme is so understated and melancholy. There's not much evil in there. It's just sorrow and a hint of something beautiful that's been lost. Definitely one of my favorites among the villains. In 1997, Batman and Robin used Mr. Freeze's backstory from this show in an attempt to deepen that character on screen. While we can all look back and laugh at the film either ironically or unironically, I can't help but think it damaged the character in the live-action sense. Such empathetic motivations were wasted on bad ice puns and a cigar-chomping Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Cool party.
I wish they'd give this character another shot in the movies. Take him seriously, use him the right way, and show us how far Mr. Freeze could really go. Batman doesn't have to do much in this episode besides be Batman. Freeze handles all the heavy lifting in terms of character, but Heart of Ice does feature a couple funny Kevin Conroy moments.
Mr. Boyle sent me to fill in. Enjoy yourself at the party with his compliments. Huh? Keys?
Plus, Alfred saves the day. How could this not be perfect?
Knockout gas? Chicken soup. The only way to fight a cold.
This episode really does speak for itself. There's not a ton else I can say that will do justice to the brilliance that is Heart of Ice. There may be episodes I personally connect with more, but it's undeniable how the impact of this story affected the entire Batman franchise and its fans. It will always be a part of us, somewhere, someplace, in our frozen hearts.
Someplace where a warm hand waits for mine.